Okay, hello and welcome to the next lesson on the Layer 3 network routing. Okay, what I want you to do this time is I'm going to let you do a little bit of work now. Although this particular view that I've shown you right here on Packet Tracer looks very similar to the one that we just did, I'd actually recommend you delete everything, start again, because it'll be a good reminder about what parameters need to be set and why. And of course, the way you'd go about this is you'd start by dragging over a couple of computers, say for IT, you'd give them their IP address, you put in a switch, you put in a router, you configure the one interface and make sure you can ping everything inside the IT network, which is the 192.168.20 network. And then do exactly the same thing for the accounting network, which is the 192.168.30. Okay, now, the thing that we've done a little bit different this time, in the previous lesson, what I did was I connected a line between the IT router directly to the accounting router, and I gave it a network number like 200.1.1. Dot something. This time, what I've done is I've included this extra router basically in another place. So the reason why I've done that is because you can imagine the way how this would work is that you would probably have one building that contained all of this stuff and a separate building that contained all of this stuff. Okay, unfortunately, I'm going to end up cutting this line no matter which I put it on, so we'll put it here. Okay, so you can imagine that these are two completely different buildings, and yet this thing that I've called the campus router might be in a separate building altogether, in some central location. And in reality, chances are this campus router might actually have like a connection to the internet so that our computers could actually reach the internet. But we've got a little ways to go before we actually get to the internet. So what I'm going to suggest that you do is that you open up a brand new worksheet, put all of these things in place, and make sure that everything works. And of course, what I've done is I've left this new exercise over here, but I've given you the addresses. Now, a couple hints about this before you start off. Okay, number one, remember that each of these computers needs to have what's known as a default gateway so that it can find its way to the rest of the network. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing is all of these routers need to have the route information entered for everything. For example, on the page called RIP, the RIP information. So what you want to do is you want to broadcast to all the routers all of the networks that each router happens to know about, so that the packets can find their way from one place to another. And ultimately what you want to do is you want to make sure that you can ping from, say, IT1 all the way down to accounting 2, and that would be a very good setup. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this with you for a few seconds so you can pause and you can go off into Packet Tracer and enter all of these things. And then when you come back, I will point a couple of things out. In particular, the thing that I completely forgot about yesterday, because now I remember what I was supposed to do. I'm sorry, well, yesterday, that means previous lab yesterday, because this is a new day for me. Okay, so pause now and go off and actually build up this network and make sure everything is going. If for some reason you're trying to shortcut this thing and want to just save yourself a few minutes, which I don't recommend, but if you do, I'd suggest you hit this power cycle all devices and just reboot everything. Give it a few minutes for it to reboot. So really, in the end, yeah, you may as well rebuild the whole thing. Okay, so pause now and come back when you're ready. Okay, so hopefully you managed to get your stuff reconnected. Okay, and what I want to cover this time is just a couple of extra things. Okay, first of all, make sure, of course, that you had your default gateway. So the default gateway for the IT world is this 192.168.20.1. That's the place where you send all your packets if you don't have any idea where they go. So that would be one problem. Second problem that you may have bumped into is, of course, here under the route information protocol routing. In each one of these things, I've entered network numbers for all the networks that I happen to know about. For example, this particular router is right here. The campus router knows about the 200.1.1 and the 200.1.2 networks. Now, does it know about these other networks over here, the 192.168.20.1, and it doesn't really know about them directly, but it will end up learning from the IT router that there is this magic network over on this side, and it will learn from the accounting router that there's a 192.168.30. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Pop this thing open. We're going to run our command prompt, and very simply, I'm just going to ping, well, first of all, 192.168.30.22, which is this computer down here, and you'll see that, yeah, I'm able to find all of my data. In fact, okay, so that's perfectly fine. In fact, you can see as the thing is pinging, you can see all of these link lights also blinking, showing that there's data going through. Now, as a second interesting command, because notice we've been using lots of commands over here. There's two other commands I'm going to show you. One command is called ipconfig. This is quite handy because it shows you the current setup for this particular computer that I'm on. For example, it shows the IP address, which is 192.168.20.22. It shows the subnet mask, 255.255.255.0, and it shows me my default gateway. Okay, so that shows me information about the computer that I'm currently logged into. Another really important command that you will find very interesting in the next part of in the very next exercise is the following. Okay, so the command is called traceRT, which is an abbreviation for trace route. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say trace route from where I am to 192.168.30.22, and let's take a look and see what comes back. Okay, and what the trace route does is it actually goes off and it figures out the route that the packets would make to reach from one end of the network to wherever it is I'm trying to get to. All right, so the way how to read this, trying to get from where I am to 192.168.30.22 means that I would first of all start by sending the packet to 192.168.20.1, which happens to be my default gateway. Now, the second hop in my network happens to go to 192.168.1.2 because that is the next router. The very next hop is to 200.1.2.1, which is this one right down here, which happens to be the accounting router. And then finally, my fourth hop got me all the way to 192.168.30.22. Okay, so I want you to give that trace route a try to make sure it actually works. And of course, open up, say, 192.168.30.143 and try pinging, say, 192.168.20.25, and you'll end up seeing, hopefully, the following. You would see that the very first place was probably 192.168.30.1, followed by a hop to 200.2.2, followed by a hop to 200.1.1, followed by a hop to 192.168.20.25. Okay, and you'll notice we don't see both ends of these each time. We only see the next destination address. So we don't really know for sure both ends of the routers are connected, but we certainly know one of them. Okay, so again, nothing to submit for this one. This was just an extra practice because I'm about to give you something rather challenging in the next video. So the next video, I'm going to get you to set up something. I'm not even going to give you the answer, but I'm going to do you some demonstrations on a completed solution. Okay, all right, so make sure that you can run the trace route in both directions and you understand how things are working. You're able to build up this full network. Okay, then go into detail and get the link up to the next video. Okay, see you next.